I need your help, please subscribe my channel. Snow used to feel like pure magic to me. As a child, I'd press my nose to the glass just to watch it drift down, mesmerized. Streetlights turned each flake into something luminous, almost forgiving. But that night, standing barefoot on the porch while my father shoved my 6-year-old into the snowdrifts, it felt like punishment instead. Better he learns to be tough now than grow up weak like you, Dad barked, his words sharp and icy in the dark air. Please, Dad. He's just a child. He isn't even wearing a coat. I yelled, rushing forward. But Mom's grip on my arm was ironclad. Stop embarrassing us, she hissed. You've made that boy soft with your pity. Soft. That word had haunted me my entire life. Like frostbite that refused to heal. I'd been labeled soft for crying when my sister mocked me, for refusing to laugh at Mom's jabs at dinner, for shielding my son whenever my father raised his voice. The wind tore at my hair as I broke free, sprinting toward the yard. Liam was curled on the icy ground, tiny hands shaking, eyes red with terror. I threw my coat around him, glaring up at my father. If anything happens to him, I swear. Dad just smirked. What? You'll scream louder? You couldn't even protect yourself from a snowflake. Mom chuckled slowly, bitterly. Maybe God gave you this child so you'd understand what it feels like to bear a burden. I held Liam closer, his sobs muffled against my shoulder. Mommy, I didn't mean to spill the tea, he whispered. That was it. He'd accidentally tipped over a cup of tea onto Dad's boots, and this was the punishment. I carried him inside, his fingers icy, lips quivering. Mom blocked the hallway. He stays in the laundry room tonight. You keep rewarding weakness. You'll both rot in it. I pushed past her. He sleeps in my bed. You don't pay rent here, Dad roared from behind me. You follow our rules or leave. You're lucky we let you crawl back after that divorce. Divorce. They never said the word, they said failure. When my ex left, my parents smirked, seeing it as proof I couldn't survive without them. I moved back, telling myself it was temporary until I found stable work. Temporary stretched into a year of humiliation. That night, I lay awake with Liam beside me, listening to his cough. My phone blinked red on the nightstand, the house creaking as if mocking us. At 3 a.m. I crept to the kitchen. My parents were still awake, sipping cocoa like nothing had happened. You could have killed him, I whispered. Dad didn't even glance at me. He's alive, isn't he? Discipline isn't a crime. Mom stirred her drink lazily. If you can't handle motherhood, maybe he'd be better off with people who actually know how to raise a man. Something inside me snapped, not loudly but in a way that reshaped me forever. You're right, I murmured. He would be better off with people who actually love him. Dad scoffed. Love? You're too busy feeling sorry for yourself. No wonder he's sniveling, weak, needy, just like his mother. Liam's wet shoes lay by the heater. I stared at them until my vision blurred. Then a decision crystallized inside me, frighteningly clear. I would not beg again. Not for heat. Not for help. Not for their approval. The next morning I packed quietly. Just a few clothes, Liam's blanket, my ID. I left their keys on the counter. Where are you going? Mom called, hair wrapped in a towel, voice dripping with boredom. Somewhere warm, I said. You'll be back, she sang. You always crawl back. Maybe once that had been true. But as I carried Liam to the bus stop, his cheek pressed against me, I felt something fiercer than fear. Rage mixed with clarity. Snow fell again, soft and persistent, covering the house until it disappeared into white. The bus ride felt like exile. Every bump on the frozen road echoed like the house I left was shaking its fists at me. Liam slept on my lap, tiny fingers clinging to mine, his skin cold, lips pale. I pressed his hand to my cheek. We're free now, baby. I promise. But promises felt thin when the wallet held only $12 and a library card. We got off at the edge of town, near a diner that smelled of burnt coffee and old apologies. I asked the woman behind the counter if they needed help washing dishes. She sized me up, messy hair, red eyes, trembling hands, and said, You start now. I'll feed the kid. That's how we survived the first month. I scrubbed dishes until my fingers bled, slept in a storage room behind the kitchen, and fed Liam leftover pancakes. At night I told him stories about knights, courage, and kindness, things he deserved to believe in but hadn't seen at home. The calls and messages from my parents didn't stop. Week 1. You think you're proving a point? You'll crawl back before spring. Week 2. Your sister's new car just arrived. She's what pride looks like. Week 3. You left his mittens. Shame. They keep him warm while you freeze. I deleted the texts, but the words lingered like splinters. Still, I felt something inside me grow. I was learning to stand without their permission. One night, Gloria, the diner owner, a short, tough woman in her 50s, found me crying behind the freezer after a call from Liam's school. He'd been teased for his thrift store shoes. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" she asked. I couldn't speak, only showed my shaking hands. "You're not weak for crying," she said. "You're strong for still standing." It was the first time anyone had ever said that to me. After that, she paid me extra for late shifts, let Liam draw at the counter, and sometimes slipped me leftovers wrapped in foil. Months later, we found a small apartment. Cracked walls, squeaky floors, but it was ours. Liam hung his stick figure drawings on the fridge. "That's us, Mommy," he said. "We look happy." And we were for a while. Until one night, as I closed the diner, a familiar truck pulled up. The engine growled, sending ice through my veins. My father stepped out in his old work jacket, smelling of gasoline and anger. "You think you can hide?" he said, stepping closer. "You embarrass this family. Everyone's talking about how you abandoned your parents." I stood taller. "I didn't abandon anyone. You threw me away." He sneered. "You're still talking back. That mouth of yours never learns." Then he saw Liam peeking through the window. He smirked when he saw me. "There he is," he sneered. "The little snowflake who can't handle a bit of cold." I stepped between him and the doorway. "Leave us alone." He moved closer, his voice low and dripping with poison. "You're lucky I didn't do worse that night. You ruined your own life, not me. You think this job makes you strong? You're nothing without us." "Then why are you here?" I asked quietly. For a split second he froze. The question hit somewhere he didn't expect. Then came that laugh, slow and mean. "Because your mother's tired of people asking about her runaway daughter. She wants you to stop telling everyone you were abused. You made her look like a monster." My hands clenched. "I didn't have to say anything," I said flatly. "People can tell." He stared for a long moment before muttering, "You're dead to us," and walking away. But he didn't mean it. They never did. They always came back. Not for love but for control. And I knew that. Over the next few weeks, something began to grow inside me. Not hatred exactly, something deeper. A hunger for balance. For the day they'd finally feel what it was like to beg and be ignored. Gloria noticed it. One night, while we were closing the diner, she said, "You've got that storm in your eyes again. Whatever you're planning, make sure it builds, not burns." But I was done being their firewood. When spring came, a letter arrived. Their house, the same one I'd escaped through the snow, had caught fire. Only partially burned, but enough. The irony nearly made me laugh. Dad had taken out insurance years ago, apparently under my name, using my credit score to lower his payments. Without my consent, they couldn't claim a cent. And just like that, the universe handed me a match. For the first time in my life, I held real power. I stared at that letter for a long while, then tucked it neatly into my apron pocket. This wasn't revenge yet. It was the beginning of something better. Something earned. When the call finally came, I was wiping down tables at the diner. The same gravelly voice that used to bark orders at me now trembled through the phone. "Lena," my father said, "we need your signature." I didn't answer immediately. I watched Liam coloring in the corner booth with crayons Gloria had given him. He was humming softly, peaceful, safe, everything my father once swore I'd never be. Dad cleared his throat. "The insurance won't pay without your approval." "The fire." "I know," I interrupted. "You used my name without permission. That's fraud." Silence. Then his voice cracked. "It was just paperwork, Lena. You know how families work." "Families?" I almost laughed. "You mean the kind that throws their kids into snowdrifts and calls it love?" "Don't start," he snapped, but the old dominance in his tone was gone. "We're desperate. Your mother's sick. The house is unlivable." I pictured him pacing that ruined kitchen, soot staining the walls. The thought didn't bring joy, just balance. "You'll get my signature," I said calmly. If you come in person. The next day they did. Dad looked smaller, his coat streaked with ash. Mom trailed behind him, pale and brittle, like the smoke had burned through her pride. The bell above the diner door chimed as they entered. Gloria looked at me from behind the counter. I gave her a subtle nod, let it play out. Dad dropped a folder on the table. Sign it. I don't have time for games. I sat across from him, folded my hands. Say it first. He frowned. Say what? That you're sorry. Mom scoffed. Oh, for God's sake. This isn't about feelings. It's business. Then think of it as a condition, I said evenly. Silence stretched tight between us. Dad's jaw clenched. Finally he muttered, fine. Sorry. No, I said softly. Say it like you mean it. Say you're sorry for what you did to my son. His eyes flickered, his hands trembling. Mom hissed. You're humiliating us. I gave a thin smile. No. You did that yourselves. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and hoarse. I'm sorry, he said. For that night. I shouldn't have done it. Good, I said quietly. Now tell him. I pointed toward the corner booth. Liam was watching wide-eyed. Tell him you're sorry. My father's face flushed crimson. You want me to? Yes. Or you walk away empty-handed. For a tense moment I thought he might. But desperation humbles even the cruelest people. He turned toward Liam, forcing a smile that cracked like glass. Sorry, kid, he muttered awkwardly. Didn't mean to scare you. Liam didn't respond. He just looked at me confused. Mommy, can we go home now? In a minute, sweetheart. I turned back to them. You'll get your signature, but not here. Tomorrow morning you'll come to my apartment. You'll see what it feels like to step into a space you don't control. They exchanged uneasy glances. Then Dad nodded stiffly. Fine. We'll be there. The next morning they arrived. The heater was broken. The apartment was freezing, the kind of cold that seeps straight into your bones. Mom rubbed her arms. Cold in here. Yeah, I said evenly. Reminds me of home. I laid the papers on the counter. Before I sign anything, listen carefully. You taught me weakness deserves punishment. You called compassion a flaw. You broke me until I forgot what love was. But I learned something out there. You can't free someone who's already walked through hell. Dad's gaze flicked to the folder. Just sign it. I will, I said. After one last thing. I picked up the papers, tore them clean in half, and dropped the pieces into the sink. Then I struck a match. The flame caught, curling the edges into ash. Mom gasped. What are you doing? Giving you your own lesson back, I said quietly. You said pain builds strength. Let's see how strong you are now. Dad lunged toward the sink, but it was too late. The fire had already devoured the form. His eyes burned with panic. You'll regret this, he spat. Maybe, I said. But at least I'll regret it from a warm bed, something you never let me have. I opened the door. Leave. For the first time in my life they didn't argue. They just walked out, shivering, defeated, small. When the door closed, I sank to my knees and let out a breath I'd been holding for years. Liam ran from his room and wrapped his little arms around me. Are you okay, Mommy? He asked softly. I kissed the top of his head. Yeah, baby. I think I finally am. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft, quiet, harmless this time. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from.